This happened about 6 years ago, back when I was still figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. I wasn't in college, didn't have a real career, and spent most of my time jumping between short-term jobs just to get by. At the time, I was working for a small delivery company. Nothing fancy, just me, a van, and a GPS that barely worked half the time. Most of my routes were normal. Suburbs, small towns, the occasional rural drop-off. But every now and then, I get assigned these long countryside deliveries. The kind where you drive for miles without seeing another car. This story comes from one of those routes. It started like any other day. I picked up a package early in the morning that needed to be delivered to a place called Willow Creek Road. I remember thinking the name sounded peaceful, almost too peaceful. The address was far, like really far, a good 3-hour drive from where I started. But the pay was decent, and I didn't mind the drive. At least, not at first. The first hour was easy. Highway driving, music playing, nothing unusual. The second hour, though, things started to change. The roads got narrower. The houses became fewer and farther apart. Eventually, it turned into nothing but open fields and long stretches of trees. And then my signal dropped. Not completely, but enough that my GPS started glitching. The route kept recalculating, spinning, freezing. I had printed directions as a backup, but they weren't exactly detailed. Still, I kept going. By the time I hit the third hour, I hadn't seen another car in at least 20 minutes. That's when I passed through a place that I can only describe as barely a town. There was an old gas station, a few rundown buildings, and maybe 3 or 4 people standing outside, like they had nowhere else to be. I pulled over, not because I needed gas, but because I needed directions. As soon as I stepped out of the van, I felt it, that feeling, like I wasn't supposed to be there. The people outside the gas station all turned to look at me at the same time. No smiles, no curiosity, just staring. I walked up and asked if I was heading toward Willow Creek Road. One of the guys nodded slowly, but didn't say anything at first. Then he pointed down the road behind the station and said, "Keep going straight. Don't turn." That was it. No extra details. No small talk. I thanked him, but none of them responded. When I got back into the van, I noticed something in the side mirror. They were all still watching me. Every single one of them. I didn't waste time. I drove off immediately. At first, I tried brushing off. Small towns can be weird. People don't always like strangers showing up out of nowhere. But the longer I drove, the more uneasy I felt. The road they pointed me to was even worse than before. It wasn't paved properly, just cracked asphalt with dirt creeping over the edges. Trees lined both sides so tightly that it felt like a tunnel. Then I noticed something else. No houses, no mailboxes, nothing, just road and trees. After about 15 minutes, I started thinking I had made a mistake. That's when I saw the truck. It came out of nowhere, a beat-up, old pickup truck, speeding past me in the opposite direction. It was going way too fast for a road like that. I barely got a look at the driver, but I could tell he was staring straight at me as he passed. I remember thinking, okay, that was weird, but I kept driving. About 10 minutes later, everything went wrong. There was a loud popping sound from underneath the van. Then another. The steering wheel jerked hard to the side, and I nearly lost control. I slammed on the brakes and managed to pull over just before the van drifted into the trees. My heart was racing. I stepped out to check the damage, and I wish I hadn't. Both front tires were completely destroyed. Not just flat, destroyed. When I crouched down to look closer, I saw something that made my stomach drop. Nails. Multiple nails sticking out of the rubber, like they had been driven straight into the road. I stood there for a second, just staring, trying to process it. This wasn't an accident. Someone had put those there. And then I remembered the town, the people staring, the directions. Don't turn. That's when the fear really hit me. I grabbed my phone immediately. No signal, not even one bar. I tried moving around, holding it up, walking down the road a bit. Nothing. I was completely alone. Or at least, I thought I was. A few minutes passed. Then I saw something in the distance behind me. Headlights. At first, I felt relief. Finally, someone who could help. But that feeling didn't last long. The headlights stopped, farther down the road. They didn't come closer. They just stayed there, watching. I couldn't see the vehicle clearly because of how bright the lights were, but I could tell it wasn't moving, not even a little. Minutes went by, still nothing. That's when another set of headlights appeared in front of me, coming from the direction I was heading. This one didn't slow down. It drove straight toward me and stopped just a few feet away from my van. Now I was trapped. One vehicle behind me, one in front. My chest tightened. Something wasn't right. The driver's door of the truck in front opened slowly. A man stepped out. Even from a distance, I recognized him. He was one of the people from the gas station. He didn't say anything. He just started walking toward me, slowly. At the same time, I heard doors open behind me. More than one. I turned slightly and saw a silhouette stepping out of the vehicle behind me. That's when I understood. This wasn't random. They knew I was coming. And whatever they wanted, it wasn't good. I didn't move. I couldn't. It felt like my body just locked up the moment I realized what was happening. The man walking toward me from the front. I recognized him clearly now. He was the same one who had pointed me down this road back at the gas station. Same blank expression. Same slow, deliberate steps. But something about him felt different now. Worse. Behind me, I could hear multiple car doors shutting. Gravel crunching under footsteps. More than one person approaching. I turned slightly, just enough to see without making it obvious. There were at least 3 of them, all walking toward me. Not running, not shouting, just walking, like they weren't worried about me getting away. That's what made it terrifying. They knew I couldn't. I forced myself to speak, try and keep my voice steady. Hey, I think I blew a tire. Do you guys have a phone? I just need to call for help. The guy in front of me didn't respond. He just kept walking, closer, step by step. That's when I noticed something else. He wasn't looking at my face. He was staring at the van, specifically the back of it, where the package was. My stomach dropped. This wasn't about helping me. This was about what I was carrying. I took a step back instinctively. Big mistake. The guy behind me suddenly spoke. You shouldn't move. His voice was low, calm, almost emotionless. I froze again. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear in my ears. I glanced back quickly and locked eyes with him. Same expression. Dead. No emotion. No curiosity. Nothing human about it. Just empty. That's when the man in front of me finally spoke. Open the back. Just 3 words. Flat, like an instruction, not a request. I shook my head immediately. I can't do that. It's company property. He cut me off. Open it. This time louder, more aggressive. I could feel the situation shifting. Fast. My brain was scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. Run? Where? Into the trees? In the dark? With no idea where I was? Fight? There were at least 4 of them. Maybe more. Then I remembered something. The van. I slowly reached into my pocket, pretending to grab my phone. But what I actually grabbed was a spare key fob. The van had a remote lock system. If I could get back inside, I might have a chance. I'll open it, I said, trying to sound compliant. Just let me grab the keys from inside. They didn't respond, but they didn't stop me either. That was enough. I turned and walked toward the driver's door, forcing myself not to run. Every step felt like it took forever. I could feel them watching me. All of them. The second I reached the door, I yanked it open, jumped inside, and slammed it shut behind me. Locked it instantly. At the same time, I hit the panic alarm. The van exploded with noise. Horn blaring. Lights flashing. For a split second, it worked. They hesitated. Not out of fear, but surprise. That was all I needed. I twisted the key. Nothing. The engine didn't start. Of course it didn't. The tires were gone. The van couldn't move. My heart sank. I had just trapped myself inside a disabled vehicle. Then the first hit came. A loud bang against the side of the van. One of them had slammed something heavy against the metal. Another hit the window. Then another. They weren't holding back anymore. The man from the front walked straight up to the driver's side window and stared at me. Up close, he looked even worse. His eyes didn't track normally. It was like he was looking through me instead of at me. He raised his hand slowly and slammed it against the glass. Again, again, again. The window shook with each hit. I didn't know how long it would hold. "Open it," he said again. I shook my head, breathing hard. No. That's when everything escalated. One of the guys behind the van shouted something. I couldn't understand what, and suddenly a rock came flying through the air. It smashed into the side window behind me. Glass shattered everywhere. I flinched, covering my face. Cold air rushed in. They were trying to break in. Panic took over. I looked around frantically. There had to be something, anything I could use. That's when I saw it. The emergency kit under the passenger seat. I reached over, pulled it out, and dug through it. Flashlight, cables, and then a flare gun. I didn't even remember it being there. My hand was shaking as I grabbed it. Loaded, ready, outside. One of them was already reaching through the broken window, trying to unlock the door from the inside. I didn't think. I just acted. I aimed the flare gun toward the opening and fired. The explosion inside the van was deafening. A burst of bright red light shot out through the broken window. The guy screamed. A real scream this time. Not controlled. Not calm. Pain. He stumbled back, clutching his arm. The others hesitated again. That moment, that hesitation, saved me. I threw the door open and bolted. I didn't even look back. I ran straight into the trees. Branches scratching my face. Roots nearly tripping me every few steps. I didn't care. I just ran. Behind me, I could hear shouting. Footsteps. They were coming after me. Of course they were. I pushed harder, deeper into the woods. Then, suddenly, I dropped. I threw myself to the ground behind a fallen tree, pressing my body flat against the dirt. I forced myself to stay still, to not breathe too loud. Seconds later, I heard them, running past me. Multiple footsteps. Fast. They didn't stop. They kept going deeper into the woods. Exactly where they thought I had gone. I stayed there, not moving, not making a sound. I don't know how long I waited. Minutes, maybe longer. But eventually, the forest went quiet again. I didn't move for a long time. Even after the footsteps disappeared, even after the forest went completely silent again. I stayed there, pressed against the cold ground, barely breathing. Every instinct in my body was telling me the same thing. Don't move. Not yet. I kept expecting to hear something. Branches snapping, voices whispering, someone doubling back. But nothing came. Just silence. Heavy, unnatural silence. After what felt like forever, I slowly lifted my head. Still nothing. No movement. No sound. I forced myself to sit up, every muscle tense, ready to run again if I had to. But the woods around me looked empty. That didn't make me feel better. If anything, it made it worse, because I had no idea where they were now, or if they were watching. I stayed low and started moving in the opposite direction of where they had run. Slow at first, careful, placing each step as quietly as possible. The forest was thick, dark, hard to navigate. I had no sense of direction anymore. All I knew was I needed to get away from that road, away from them. After maybe 10 minutes of walking, I realized something terrifying. I couldn't hear the road anymore. No cars, no wind passing over open space, just trees. I was completely lost. Panic started creeping back in, but I pushed it down, one problem at a time. I kept moving, faster now, not running, but not slow either. Then out of nowhere, I saw light, faint at first, through the trees. I froze. My heart immediately started racing again. It could be them, another vehicle, another trap, but it didn't move. It didn't flicker like headlights. It looked steady, like a porch light. I hesitated. Every instinct told me this could be another mistake, but I didn't have many options left, so I moved toward it, slowly, carefully. The closer I got, the clearer it became. It was a house, a small one, old, but definitely lived in. There was a single light on near the front door. I stopped just outside the clearing, watching. waiting, looking for any sign of movement. Nothing. No figures. No vehicles nearby. Just the house. I made a decision. I stepped out of the trees and walked toward the front door. Every step felt wrong, like I was walking into something I didn't understand. I knocked. Once. Twice. No answer. I was about to knock again when I heard movement inside. Footsteps. Slow. Approaching. The door opened just a crack. An older man stood there, looking at me with a confused expression. I must have looked insane, covered in dirt, sweating, breathing hard. "Please," I said immediately. "I need help. My van broke down and there are people out there." He didn't respond right away, just stared at me. Then his expression changed. Not to fear, not to confusion. Recognition. That's what scared me. "You came from the road," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. I nodded. His face tightened slightly. Then he opened the door wider. "Get inside." I didn't hesitate. The second I stepped in, he locked the door behind me. Then he walked over and turned off the light. The room went dim instantly. "Stay away from the windows," he said. My chest tightened again. "You know about them?" I asked. He looked at me for a long second before answering. "Sit down." I didn't argue. I sat. He stayed standing, watching the door. "They've been doing this for years," he said finally. I felt a chill run through me. "What do you mean?" He sighed. "Setting traps on that road. Tires, debris, anything to stop cars." My stomach turned. And then, "They take what they want." A long pause. Sometimes more than that. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. I already understood. "They don't like outsiders," he continued. "And they don't like people leaving." My mind immediately went back to the gas station. The staring. The directions. They knew I was coming. I said quietly. He nodded. "Most likely." Silence filled the room again. Then I asked a question that had been building in my head since this all started. Why didn't they follow me here? The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked over to the window, slightly, and peeked through the curtain, carefully. Then he stepped back. "They don't come this far." That didn't make me feel better. "Why not?" He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes. Not fear. Something else. Something heavier. "They don't need to." That answer stuck with me. I didn't understand it then. And honestly, I'm not sure I ever fully will. He let me stay the night. Didn't ask many questions. Didn't offer many answers either. The next morning, he drove me out himself. Didn't take the same road. Didn't go near that town. He dropped me off at a highway about 20 miles away and told me not to come back. I didn't argue. I didn't go to the police. I didn't file a report because I knew how it would sound. And even if I did, what would they find? A broken van, a quiet road, an empty town. No proof, no evidence, nothing. My company recovered the van a few days later. They said it was abandoned on the side of the road. No sign of anyone else. No mention of nails. No mention of damage beyond the tires. Like nothing had ever happened. I quit that job the same week. Never went back to delivery work. Never took another route like that again. But the part that still bothers me, the part one can't stop thinking about, is what the old man said. They don't like people leaving. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I didn't run, if I opened the back of that van, if I stayed on that road just a little longer. And the worst part, I still don't know what was inside that package or why it mattered so much to them.